Your body has a clock, not a metaphorical one, a literal biological clock, encoded in nearly every cell of your body that governs when you sleep and wake, when your cortisol peaks and drops, when your body temperature rises and falls, when your immune system is most active, when your cognitive performance is sharpest, and when your metabolism is most efficient. That clock was calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution to run in precise synchrony with the natural cycle of light and dark. And right now, for most people reading this, that clock is broken, not damaged beyond repair, but significantly disrupted by artificial light, by irregular schedules, by screens before sleep, by caffeine consumed too late, by social jet lag, by the fundamental mismatch between the rhythms of the natural world and the rhythms of modern life. And the consequences of that disruption are not limited to feeling tired. They extend into every biological system you have: your mood, your metabolism, your immune function, your cognitive performance, your hormonal balance, and your long-term health. In this video, you are going to understand exactly how your circadian system works, what disrupts it, and the specific protocol for rebuilding it from scratch. Starting tonight. The circadian system is one of the most ancient biological mechanisms in existence. It predates complex animal life by billions of years. Every living organism on Earth, from single-celled bacteria to human beings, has some form of circadian rhythm. In humans, the master clock lives in a tiny region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of roughly 20,000 neurons that receives direct light input from the eyes and uses that information to coordinate the timing of virtually every physiological process in the body. But here is what most people do not know. The master clock does not work alone. Every organ in your body, your liver, your gut, your immune system, your heart, your lungs, your skin, has its own peripheral clock that operates semi-independently. These peripheral clocks are synchronized to the master clock through a combination of light signals, meal timing, exercise timing, and social cues. When all of these clocks are running in synchrony, when the light you receive, the food you eat, the movement you do, and the social rhythms of your life are all aligned with your biological timing, you experience what researchers call circadian coherence. And circadian coherence is one of the strongest predictors of health, cognitive performance, emotional stability, and longevity that exists. The problem is that modern life has systematically dismantled every mechanism that kept these clocks in synchrony. Artificial light, particularly the blue spectrum light emitted by screens and LED bulbs, suppresses melatonin production and delays the biological signals that tell your body it is time to prepare for sleep. Irregular meal timing, eating late, skipping breakfast, having your largest meal at the end of the day, disrupts the peripheral clocks in your digestive system and metabolic organs. Irregular sleep schedules, different wake times on weekdays versus weekends, produce what researchers call social jet lag, which has measurable effects on metabolic health, mood, and cognitive function independent of total sleep duration. And chronic stress, which you already understand from our earlier videos on cortisol, keeps the HPA axis activated in ways that directly interfere with the normal circadian rhythm of cortisol, which should peak in the morning and drop steadily through the day rather than staying elevated through the evening and night. The result is a biological system that is trying to run on a schedule that no longer exists, and paying a measurable physiological price for that mismatch every single day. So what does a circadian reset actually involve? The first and most powerful intervention is light. Specifically, getting bright natural light into your eyes within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking. This single practice is the most effective way to anchor your circadian clock to a consistent daily rhythm. Morning light, even on a cloudy day, sends a powerful signal to the suprachiasmatic nucleus that sets the timing of every downstream biological process that follows. It anchors your cortisol morning peak, which provides natural energy and alertness. It sets the countdown timer for melatonin release approximately 12 to 16 hours later, which determines when you begin to feel sleepy. and it synchronizes the peripheral clocks throughout your body to the timing established by the master clock. The effect of this one practice, 5 to 10 minutes of outdoor morning light, ideally without sunglasses, is measurably greater than any sleep supplement, any alarm optimization, or any sleep hygiene tip that circadian researchers have studied. It is the foundation of the entire reset. The second intervention is evening light management. Just as morning light anchors your clock forward, evening light, particularly blue spectrum artificial light from screens and overhead LED lighting, delays your clock backward. Reducing bright overhead light and screen exposure in the 2 to 3 hours before sleep allows melatonin to rise naturally and on time, facilitating both faster sleep onset and better sleep architecture through the night. This does not require eliminating all evening activity. It requires dimming and shifting the light environment, warm, low, indirect lighting in the evening, rather than the bright overhead lighting that your biology interprets as midday sun. The practical protocol is simple. Dim your home lighting after sunset, use warm spectrum bulbs in the evening, and reduce screen brightness significantly in the final 2 hours before your target sleep time. The third intervention is meal timing, and this is the one most people overlook. Your gut, liver, and metabolic organs have their own circadian clocks that are synchronized not primarily by light, but by when you eat. Research on time-restricted eating, consuming all your daily food within a consistent 8 to 12-hour window that ends several hours before sleep, consistently shows improvements in sleep quality, metabolic function, blood glucose regulation, and inflammatory markers independent of changes in total caloric intake. What you eat matters. But when you eat, relative to your circadian rhythm, matters in ways that nutritional science has only recently begun to fully appreciate. Eating your largest meal earlier in the day, avoiding significant food intake in the 3 hours before sleep, and being consistent about the timing of your first and last meal each day sends powerful synchronizing signals to the peripheral clocks throughout your metabolic system. The fourth intervention is exercise timing. Physical activity is one of the strongest non-light Zeitgebers, time givers, for the circadian system. Morning or early afternoon exercise reinforces the daytime phase of your circadian rhythm and has been shown to improve sleep quality, reduce the time it takes to fall asleep, and increase slow-wave deep sleep. Late evening vigorous exercise, on the other hand, can delay sleep onset by elevating core body temperature and activating arousal systems at a time when the biology is preparing for sleep. The practical recommendation is not to avoid evening movement entirely. Gentle walking or stretching in the evening is neutral or mildly beneficial, but to schedule high-intensity training earlier in the day whenever possible. The fifth and most overlooked intervention is consistency. Specifically, consistent wake time. Of all the circadian anchors available to the human biological system, consistent wake time is the single most powerful. Not consistent bedtime, though that matters too, but consistent wake time. Because the timing of morning light exposure, which sets the entire daily rhythm, is determined by when you wake up and go outside. Varying your wake time by more than 30 to 60 minutes, even on weekends, resets your clock to a different phase and produces the same physiological disruption as crossing 1 or 2 time zones. The most impactful single change most people can make to their circadian health is to choose a wake time that is sustainable 7 days a week and hold it with consistency. Not as punishment, but as the anchor that allows every other biological rhythm to organize around a stable reference point. If you made it to the end of this video, your body already knows what it needs. It needed the light this morning. It needed consistent meals. It needed movement at the right time. It needed the darkness that tells it sleep is coming. These are not complicated requirements, they are ancient ones. And rebuilding your circadian rhythm is not a dramatic intervention. It is a quiet, consistent, daily act of returning your biology to the conditions it was designed for. Start tonight, with dimmer lights, an earlier meal, and a commitment to the same wake time tomorrow morning. Share this video with someone who struggles with sleep, energy, or mood, because the circadian system connects to all of them. Subscribe to continue this journey, because the next video is going to bring you something that is the complement to everything we have been building. The art of being present. Why your mind is rarely where your body is, what that costs you, and how to return to the only moment that actually exists. See you there.